the Southern Shores Town Council for April the 1st, 2014 is now in session. I ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you again. Council, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Agenda's been approved. Our second item of business is a consent agenda. And before I ask council to approve that, I want to say a couple of words about the Paint the Town Purple proclamation. I'm going to just read part of it to you because it's pretty interesting what we're doing and how we're supporting the American Cancer Society. The the Paint the Town Purple proclamation is being done for the American Cancer Society or by them. And it's an activity that American Cancer Society that promotes cancer awareness, gives individuals and communities an opportunity to fight back against cancer. And whereas money raised during the Paint the Town Purple of Southern Shores Most Climate supports the American Cancer Society's mission of saving lives, creating a world with less cancer and more birthdays, by helping people stay well, by helping people get well, and by finding cures for cancer and by fighting back. Anyhow, we're going to sign. I'll be signing this later on this evening as a proclamation as our support for this effort. Now, I think you've all had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting. In that case, go back to my first page. I would ask council for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're very fortunate tonight to have Linda Wood and Dennis DiRamondo. That's pretty good, huh? I'm close. And they're going to talk to us about the Outer Banks sporting events. Now I'm turning the floor over to you now if you'd like to come up and start your presentation. Thank you.
Mayor Bennett and members of the council, thank you so much for giving Dennis and me the opportunity to be here. For those of you that haven't met Dennis, he moved to the Outer Banks in September of 2013. He comes to us from Pennsylvania, where he's been doing long-distance running since middle school. He's run several marathons all over the world, including in Australia. And he also has done race direction for the last 10 years. So he comes to us with quite a bit of experience, and we are excited for what he's bringing to our organization. With that, we appreciate the opportunity to tell you about the economic development that was brought to Dare County during 2013 from our events. As most of you know, we are a nonprofit, and we try to help the community by bringing events here during the shoulder season when it's most needed by our businesses, and we give back to the community through the Dare Education Foundation and the Outer Banks Relief Foundation. All of our money goes back into support of public education and citizens, local citizens in need. Let's see if I got that. We bring large numbers of participants here to the Outer Banks, and last year, during 2013, 26% of our participants said that they were first-time visitors to the Outer Banks. So indeed, our events are bringing first-time visitors here, which we hope will come back and visit with us even longer. This helps support, of course, our economy, and we ourselves, OBSE, spend about $100,000 or more of our budget here locally in things like graphic design and printing and renting of porta potties and buying supplies and t-shirts and all kinds of things that support the races themselves and the runners. We spend that money, and we try to spend as much of it as we can here locally. So we're also supporting the economy that way. Our events for 2014. The dates are, the next one is the Flying Pirate Half Marathon and First Flight 5K. The Flying Pirate starts in Kitty Hawk, right up the road from you guys, and it will be the weekend of May 2nd through the 4th. And we have good news. Our registration for that event, our 5K, is sold out, has been sold out for about a month now. And we have over 1,000 registrants for that race already. And the half marathon is almost sold out. So if you know anybody that might want to run that race, tell them to go ahead and register, because it's become very, very popular. Our next event, Storm the Beach, is our adventure race obstacle course on the beach. It's June 14th and 15th. It will be held at Jeanette's Pier this year, and we're looking for a very exciting race there, and Dennis will tell you more about that in a few minutes. The Outer Banks Triathlon Series is September 12th through the 14th, and then the Outer Banks Marathon, Half Marathon, 10K, 5K, and Fun Run is Veterans Day weekend, November 7th through the 9th. This picture is from the Marathon 2013 presented to us by the Outer Banks, the North Carolina Aquarium. Okay, our events appeal to all ages and all ability levels. Three of our 4 events have family-friendly and children's events incorporated in them. We want anybody that wants to participate to be able to, and so we have different levels for all of our events. We encourage people to come as groups and families and spend their vacation here, and Dennis will tell you about that in a minute. This shows you the finish line for the Flying Pirate last year. So that shows you how many people are actually there at one of our events. This is behind the YMCA in Nags Head. Last year, and in some years in the past, we have partnered with our military. Veterans Day weekend. This past year, we partnered with a battalion in Afghanistan. They ran the half marathon virtually. Is it virtually?
It's called a shadow race.
Okay, thank you. Get my race director involved here. You'll see them wearing our shirts, our medals, our caps. 26 of them participated, and we're very proud to partner with our military to do some of our events, and we sponsor them to do that. If they are willing and want to do it, we are very happy to partner with them. We also encourage anybody to participate. We have a wheelchair division. Several years we've had blind marathoners. This is one that ran last November, and his pacer. And so we encourage, like I said, all abilities to participate, and we have multiple sports. So we hope to get anybody and everybody involved. Now Dennis will talk to you more specifically about the economic development.
Hello, everyone. There, she gave me the fun job of the numbers. All right, so in 2013, between our 4 events, our events brought in an estimated $6.7 million to the Outer Banks community. These numbers were based on a variety of factors, including a base number of 9,700 estimated finishers last year, plus their guests, which equaled approximately 30,000 people to the Outer Banks, thanks to our events last year. All of our events are held during the shoulder season, particularly when the Outer Banks could use the extra income as needed. As we said before, we strive to bring or encourage businesses to stay open longer, bring people to the area when the weather is not typically the best or prime season. In 2013, as we said, we had about 9,700 actual participants in our events. Those participants were made up of 10 different countries. Some of those countries include South Africa, Italy, Australia, Japan, Israel, and then of course, Kenya and Ethiopia. And then we also had registered participants come from 48 separate states. The only states that we did not see represented in 2013 were Alaska and Wyoming. So someone from every other state came and joined us in the Outer Banks last year. Breaking down the demographics for our participants, across the board for the year, we had approximately 58% female participants, and an average age in the 38 to 43 range. And then after we broke down their data, we have all participants fill out a survey when they register to give us an idea of where they're staying, how many nights they're staying, and how many people are coming with them. Based on that data, the average night stay was 2 nights, and the average number of participants or guests per participant was 2. For Dare County total, we were able to estimate a total of 4,186 rooms rented throughout the year, and approximately 1,565 rental houses as well for the year. I like this clicker. All right. The number 6.7 million was what we came about when we brought our 30,000 estimated visitors based on a daily per diem of $75 times 2 days, coming to approximately 4.5 million in total per diem. Money spent at local stores, restaurants around Dare County. And then adding up the approximately 8,200 hotel and motel room nights and the 1,565 rental houses gave us an accommodations total of almost 2.2 million for that grand total of almost 6.7 million for the year. Since the inception of the Outer Banks Marathon 8 years ago, we're able to say that we have brought in approximately $38.5 million in local economic impact to the area. And as Linda touched upon earlier, 100% of our proceeds are split and donated to 2 local nonprofits as well, the Dare Education Foundation and the Outer Banks Relief Foundation. And by helping these 2 organizations, they have each donated over $700,000 back into the community, or another $1.4 million to improve the quality of life to our local citizens. In addition to, as she said, 3 out of 4 of our events, we do have family and children's events to help improve or promote the Healthy Kids initiatives in the area as well. All right, the fun stuff. Storm the Beach is our newest event. It is our oceanfront adventure obstacle course race. This year it's going to be held at Jeanette's Pier. Last year was our first official year. The year before was a pilot year. Last year we had 622 registrations, which was up 95% from its initial pilot plan. We're hoping, as things are trending, that we're going to grow that event again this year. The event consists of a 5-mile and a 3-mile adventure race, as well as a family team-friendly fun run, which is a 0.75-mile event. The event is a team-oriented, family-friendly, with a variety of challenges for both those people just looking to have fun on the beach and some challenges for those that are a little bit more serious. And it meets the demand, the market demand for something diverse and different in the Outer Banks. And coming up here is some pictures from last year's event, just to give you guys an idea. Since it's on the beach, we're trying to keep with that beach adventure theme. So some of the obstacles are as simple as some like an agility foot obstacle with some blow-ups. utilizing local natural resources such as driftwood to add another challenge. And probably my favorite picture, fun for all ages. As you can see, the young man having a blast crawling under the obstacle, and if you look behind him in the right corner, you'll see his father. Bandana, eye patch, you know, having fun as a family out on the beaches. But one of the big things that we're trying to accomplish with this event is also that team building. The finishes of this event must finish as a team. Like, your strong guy can't run ahead, your weak link shouldn't stay behind. Working together and crossing that finish line as a team, building a bond, and having a blast and memories on the beaches of the Outer Banks. And then, of course, we have some more intense obstacles for those people looking for a challenge. The nice thing about our event is if you came up to this and you thought it looked crazy, you can bypass it. There's no penalty. If you choose to try it, go for it, and if not, keep on going down the beach. And the most popular of all of our events, all of our obstacles, is actually a series of walls. This is the largest wall that we had last year in the pictures, and this is the one people, you know, really talked about. A little bit of a challenge, a lot of fun. You fall, you're in the sand, so it's not too bad. All right, trends and challenges in 2014. Some of the trends that we noticed when we were picking apart all of these details was that, as I said before, that our participants were predominantly 60% or 58% were female. The only time this was different was during the triathlon, where it was actually flip-flopped. 60% male participation in the triathlon versus the opposite in every other event. Our triathlon has sold out the last 2 years, and we're looking to trend, and it will more than likely sell out again for the 3rd straight year. So it's become a very, very popular event. So we're pretty excited about that one as well. Some of the trends that we've seen is some of our shorter races, the 5Ks, the 10Ks, have started to grow. As we said, the 5K this year sold out a month ago. We've changed some of the races in November as well. We had an 8K that we've changed to a 10K, trying to get people to move up into those distances as well. The longer events, such as a marathon and half marathon, they tend to plateau. We actually just saw data that came in today that across the country, there was actually a growth in marathon in 2013, which is a little different than it has in the past. So very encouraging that as we continue to grow our organization, that the national data is supporting what we're doing, which is fantastic. And as we said, Storm the Beach has grown in 2013, and we look for that to continue. Breaching on the challenges side of things, our expo for our big events is out at the Dare Youth Center down in Coteville Hills, and parking is a problem, obviously. Really doesn't affect Southern Shores. Competition is one of our big ones. This year is the first annual Rock and Roll Raleigh event. Obviously, we're a destination event, and so trying to keep what we do fresh and exciting and bringing people to the beach when we have new races popping up all around North Carolina and Virginia is a big challenge for us. So one of the things that we're doing is really trying to utilize social media, the way that we outreach to our past participants, keeping retention of our events up, and attracting new people with fun events like Storm the Beach is really something that we're working on. And then, of course, our final challenge is, as we continue to grow, recruiting volunteers and staff. Key people from the community that are willing to help out and become part of the amazing things that I'm fortunate to now be a part of and that we've done the last 8 years in the area is a big thing. So, of course, if anybody knows anyone wanting to volunteer, don't hesitate to give them our phone number. So, I'm not very good at this clicker.
There you go.
All right, and any questions from anybody? No?
What's your expense budget for some of these programs tied into it? Or you must have some.
Oh, we do, but I'm trying to remember.
I really don't. It's surprising.
Our total, I can tell you what our total budget is for the year. It's about 1.2 million. Our total budget. I don't remember the expenses.
That's all right.
I had the privilege of hearing this presentation at the tourism board meeting,
excellent.
and I was
That's right.
impressed then with what you folks had to present. One of the things I thought I remembered was you mentioned the number of people who had signed up for the November event, the Outer Banks Marathon, and I was amazed at the numbers. Do you remember what they were off the top of your head? That registered to participate.
For last year specifically, I don't. It was over 5,000.
Yeah, it was,
Over
it was-
5,000.
It was some very, very large number.
Like
but I didn't remember
5,300 in
what it was
November.
either.
I know off the top of my head finishers for the marathon in November. We had 1,112 finishers, and we had 2,830 finishers in the half. So between those two, well over or right around 4,000 finishers. And registered numbers are always higher. We have, people that just no show for the events, but.
And it's,
And then the 5K and the fun run and the 8K, it was well over 5,000 participants.
it's just amazing how it's grown over the few years that it's been in the operation. It's really impressive and shows what people are interested in. It's a great job.
And if I hand it back over to Linda, she has some gifts for the council.
One of the things that people that come here to the Outer Banks is most impressed with is the hospitality of our community and our volunteers. And we know that we could not do what we do without the support of our towns, of our volunteers, of our sponsors, and everybody in the community. And this is just a token of our appreciation. But as a token of our appreciation, we'd like to present the town with 2 framed official art posters from the 2013 marathon.
Good.
And we hope that you will hang them with pride. You're welcome. Thank you very much for all your support. We certainly appreciate what the town does for us, and we appreciate what you as individuals do for us as well. I know that there's some volunteers and sponsors sitting here in the council room and in the audience. I think Peter wants to get a picture. That'll be all right. Thank you.
Wish we had a bigger crowd here tonight for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, we didn't know.
Thank you.
I'll say that again. I wish we had a bigger crowd here tonight to hear this. It was really worthwhile to hear that kind of contribution made by anybody for the community. Thanks again. Very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, just one tidbit of information. Town employees will be running in the 5K in May. And I just wanted to, on the fitness part of it, just kind of give kudos to the Human Resources Officer, Bonnie Swain, who over the years, as you know, has encouraged and developed fitness plans really for all our employees. And really, we have a majority, a super majority of employees now who are in a fitness program of some sort now on the beach, one of which is, of course, some of the runs. So we're excited about that.
And that's one of the reasons why our 5K sold out a month ago, because of that program, getting the towns and the local government agencies involved in fitness. Thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you again. Great job. The next item on the agenda is the staff reports. Here first from the town planner. Les Haskett.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I have a brief report for the month of March for you tonight. There were 7 zoning permits issued, 25 building permits issued, which consisted of 3 additions, 7 remodels, and 15 others. There are currently 9 single-family dwellings under construction in town, and the total amount of fees collected in March was $12,226.30. Also, as Mayor Bennett and Councilwoman Hess may know, the Comprehensive Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan Steering Committee will be meeting on May the May 1st at 2 o'clock here in the Pitt Center in the upstairs meeting room. And the purpose of that meeting will be to discuss draft plan recommendations as submitted by the consultant assisting us in this project. Any questions? Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the police chief has been working on a volunteer project this afternoon, and he has reported to me that he will have his monthly report with next month's report, if it's okay with you. He was unable to get back in time, and he's hard at work, volunteering for his church in the Wine Cheese community right now. So I told him to stay right where he was, and I thought y'all would be able to receive his report with the next report.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, I know about David's efforts, and I think he's to be commended, and we'll forgive him for not being here. But we have somebody else who's going to talk to us. Chief Harvey, our fire chief.
I don't know how to do this, but I'm gonna follow the police chief.
Do the best you can, chief.
I'll struggle.
Wing it.
Let's wing it, right?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I'm up to peek around the corner here because I don't have my notes. I think it's gonna tell me we had 12 calls in the month of March,
It does.
Yeah.
of which 75% of them were medical calls. And we had one gas leak, one dispatched from council, and one fire alarm. Nice, quiet month, and I would hope that April will be similar. Any questions?
No, thank you, chief.
Thank you.
The next item of business is public hearing on recommendations to the planning board on proposed town code amendments. This is a lot of this is housekeeping functions, and I'm going to turn the meeting over now at this time to our town planner and our town attorney. And since we have to have a public hearing, I'm going to let them direct that. Thank you, Wes.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I have a staff report, which you all should have received in your packets for ZTA-1401. This will be the first application on the agenda, which the requested action is amendment of the town zoning ordinance regarding section 36, or chapter 36, article 12. Staff's analysis: in October of 2013, new legislation adopted by the North Carolina General Assembly, which applies to the Board of Adjustment, went into effect. The new legislation includes changes to the provisions regarding voting, decisions, hearing notices, appeals, and variances. The town zoning ordinance must be amended in order to be consistent with the recently adopted legislation, and town staff has attempted to do that in the attached zoning text amendment application. In addition to the required legislative changes, town staff is also proposing to amend the current makeup of the board. Currently, the town's Board of Adjustment is comprised of 5 regular members, 3 alternates, and 1 ETJ member. The board has not met to consider new business since November of 2008, and as a result, town staff is proposing to include the assignment of the Board of Adjustment's duties to the town planning board in this zoning text amendment application. In a survey that I conducted of other planning jurisdictions with a population under 5,000, asking if their planning board served as the Board of Adjustment, that produced 18 results. Out of the 18 results, 11 of the jurisdictions have assigned the duties of the Board of Adjustment to the planning board. So we are recommending that in this ETA as well. The town planning board's recommendation was a unanimous 5-0 recommendation of approval, and that the town staff also recommends approval of the application, and that is consistent with the town's currently adopted land use plan. That covers my staff report. Mr. Mayor, if you have any questions, I'd like to try to answer those at this time. Sure.
And Mr. Mayor, do you want me to open and close the public hearing portion of it? Sure. We're going to have a public hearing now on ZTA 1401, which is making up for changes in the legislation regarding Board of Adjustments. If anyone in the audience would like to speak, now is the time to do so. If you'll approach the podium and say your name and your address, and you're limited, this is a legislative hearing, so you'll be limited to 3 minutes. Anyone? Seeing no one, Mr. Mayor, I would close the public hearing.
So moved. All in favor? Do we have to vote on this or not?
No, it's closed.
Thank you.
And I'm also, if there are any other questions of the council, I'm glad to try and answer if there are questions. It would be appropriate to consider the first one, and then we'll deal with the second one as a separate hearing.
So your motion to, as I understand it, the motion to approve the zoning text amendment.
Yes, sir.
As I understand it, council, we need a motion to approve the proposed amendments to the town zoning ordinance regarding chapter 36, article 12, I believe that is. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed by the same sign? Thank you. Motion's made and carried for that amendment. Thanks, Ben, for doing that.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor.
we do that. And the next one is an ordinance to amending the code of ordinance in the town of Southern Shores, North Carolina.
Thank you again, Mayor Bennett. The next application before you tonight is ZTA 1402, and the requested action is amendment of the town zoning ordinance regarding section 36-175, wireless telecommunication sites and towers, section 36-202, RS1 single-family district, section 36-205, low-density residential district, section 36-206, government and institutional district, and finally, section 36-207C, general commercial district. Staff's analysis. In October of 2013, new legislation adopted by the North Carolina General Assembly, which applies to wireless facilities, went into effect that set standards regarding the expedited review of co-locations and minor modifications requests. The town zoning ordinance must be amended in order to be consistent with the recently adopted legislation, which town staff has attempted to do in the attached zoning text amendment application. The proposed ZTA attempts to make the town's current wireless facilities ordinance consistent with this new legislation. Town Planning Board and town staff recommendation. The Town Planning Board recommended approval unanimously 4-0 at the February 18th, 2014 meeting, and town staff also recommends approval of the proposed amendment, and that is consistent with the town's currently adopted land use plan. That concludes my staff report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Wes.
I just have one. Go ahead, Larry.
One question was, does this change affect the current application that's on file?
The application with respect to
AT&T?
AT&T,
Yes.
no, sir, it just has no bearing on that.
Okay.
I don't believe.
That's the same question I had.
Seeing no more questions, we'll open the public hearing on proposed ZTA 1402 regarding changes to the town's wireless telecommunications ordinance provisions. Again, if anyone in the audience would like to speak to this matter, you can approach the podium and state your name and address and provide us with information you would like the council to hear. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Again, Mr. Mayor, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing.
Thank you. Council, I need a motion to approve the ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the town of Southern Shores, North Carolina.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any further discussion? I should say.
I have one question. In your analysis, Wes, you used the term attempts to make the changes, or you attempted to provide it. Was that just a choice of words? I mean, there's no question of anything coming back later to say this isn't.
Oh, no, ma'am, that was my choice of language.
I assumed that, but I didn't want to assume it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you. Motion's made.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. General public comment, 3 minutes. Anybody wants to come up and talk, they can certainly do that. Yes, Laura. Thank goodness you're here, Laura.
Lori Williams from the League of Women Voters, as you all know. Election season is starting to ramp up, and the League is increasing their outreach efforts. We have a series of candidates forums and receptions coming up in the next week or so. There is a Board of Education. There are 2 forums that are going to be held for the Board of Education election. One is April 3rd down at Hatteras. The other one is April 10th at Nags Head Elementary School from 7 to 9. Both of them are 7 to 9. You drive on to Hatteras. It's probably a beautiful day down there. The other one is on April 6th, which is this Sunday. We are having a primary candidates reception. These are the candidates that will be running primaries coming up to decide who will actually be running in the fall election. And there should be a big turnout on candidates because there's a lot of primaries. We've invited all of the primary candidates to attend. And that will be at the Kitty Hawk Town Hall from 2 to 4 this coming Sunday. It's a busy time for the League. Any questions?
Appreciate that. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks again. We have no old business that I can see. At this time, I'll ask our town manager and the finance officer to discuss a recommended amendment to our purchasing and bid policy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you, council, I'll draw your attention to tab 3 in your meeting book. And tab 3 contains the current town purchasing and bid requirements policy with 2 yellow highlighted changes that staff is proposing to the council tonight. On page 2, under informal bidding process, there is a second sentence added that had been discussed at the Finance Committee. It states, notwithstanding and consistent with an annual budget authorization, the town manager is authorized to renew or extend any service provider contract in effect as of the date of this policy as amended and determined by the town manager to be in the best interest of the town. For explanation, again, this would apply to only service provider contracts, not construction and repair contracts. This would be in the case where the town has a contract with a provider who is doing a good job, and for some reason, for whatever reason, the contract is coming up. It authorizes, if the council approves the funding for that, it authorizes the town manager to continue with that service provider. So that is the first recommendation that's made in this bid purchasing and bid policy. The second recommendation is on page 4 and addresses some changes that I propose to you for credit card usage. This is merely an initiative of mine to more easily have fiscal control over some of the spending policies that we do have in the town. And I am proposing to you that the policy change from a $250 threshold to a $100 threshold for credit card uses. And this applies only to credit card usage. It also contains a reference in the yellow that references the travel policy. It states when traveling out of town for training purposes, the employee may use the credit card for hotel stays and purchases of fuel only. And we will, and the third item on the agenda will address the travel policy change, but this clarifies and restates that as a cross-reference. But the basic change here is that the threshold, I propose to you that the threshold for credit card purchases be reduced from $250 to $100, and that's mainly for a due diligence fiscal control measure. So those are the 2 changes. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions. And the finance officer's here as well to assist me if there are any questions.
Any questions?
Do we know how many of our employees actually today have credit cards that would?
Yes, sir, we do. And I'm reviewing which employees should or need to be actually carrying credit cards rather than the finance officer actually issuing them on a per purchase basis. But we do know that, and I'm reviewing that over the next couple of weeks, be looking at it in more detail as to who actually is carrying, and is there a need for that employee to actually be carrying?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
In this proposed informal bidding process extension, I guess my question is with Ben. Does he see any problem legally with that? And a second part of my question is, does this give us the possibility or the condition where we could perpetually extend a service contract if we chose to do so? And if we had a legal challenge to that, is there other parts of the policy that this is in conflict with, where we says we have to do certain bidding processes if we're challenged?
If the law requires a certain bidding process for a certain type of contract, then it would have to be followed. Generally, service contracts are delegable to a manager. They aren't typically.
And there's no threshold, no.
Not on a service contract. Typically, your thresholds relate to building and construction and purchase contracts. Service contracts have different thresholds. You do have, and I have, it might be in this policy, but there is a policy that you have also adopted, and I think it is this one, for how the manager typically handles contracts and other things as well for new contracts.
If the fund's been approved in the budget, that would be one of the controlling parts of it, I would think.
It is, and that is a limitation that was provided in here as well, is that the manager is only allowed to do that consistent with a budget appropriation. So if there's no budget, then, or if there's a budget question, it would probably come up at budget time.
Well, and/or could come up in a discussion in the finance committee.
Yes.
Good, sure, yes.
And most likely would, potentially.
The way I understand this, I don't think the town manager is trying to take away the authority of council to make the final decision. He wants the option of being able to present that to us and say, "Here, recommend."
I have no problem with the concept. It's.
Well, I don't either. It's just that, go ahead, Leo. I would hate to see, for example, somebody that would want to go in and bid on one of our services and not given the opportunity to do that because of this policy, come back with us with some kind of legal action.
I'm not exceptionally concerned about a legal action for service contracts on that basis. The majority of them do not have a bidding process by law. Some of them do, and I think the limited number that the town is involved with can probably narrow that, and your manager is pretty qualified to determine which ones he might need to call me on to make sure that he's following the process. I believe, and Peter can probably speak to this clearer, I believe this is to try and avoid having to present things to you more often than you need to see them, for people who are already doing a consistent job for the town.
Typically, how long are these contracts? 1 year, 2 years? Or?
Well, when I first started here, we have contracts that exist from anywhere from 1 year and some of them up to 4 years, is what I'm seeing. And then, of course, you have your fire service contract that's 10 years.
Is there a possibility we could be more consistent by having them all 2 years, 1 year, whatever that may be, so it'd be easier to follow, I would think?
And I mean, that's something certainly we would look at when we are seeking a service. Some of them, it does have an effect on the price that we get, you know, the length of the contract, and of course the costs that are, the expenses for the contractor involved. He can tune those over a 12-month period, or sometimes over a multi-year period, depending on what the costs are, i.e. fuel. It just depends, but we certainly seek to have as much control over them as we need to or have to.
Okay.
But we don't want to tie your hands in negotiations with the
No.
prices and so
Right.
forth.
No,
so.
I don't want to do that.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
just
you for
I'm
that.
trying to be, maybe some consistency.
I guess, council, we need to vote vote as to whether we agree with and would approve this particular policy. Is there a motion to that effect?
I move that we approve the recommended amendment to the purchasing and bid policy as presented by the town manager.
I second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Stop right there. Is there any further discussion? No.
No.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign? That motion's been made and carried. Next order of business here, if I'm not mistaken, is along the same lines. Having to do with recommended amendment to retiree health and dental insurance benefits policy.
Thank
Give it to the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Have the Human Resources Officer is here, Ms. Swain, and I'm going to, in a second, defer to her on some of the more explicit or specific matters in this recommendation to you, but I just wanted to make a statement. In November of 2007, the council adopted the initial policy regarding retirees' health insurance and dental insurance coverage. And just wanted to state that when that happened, there were two classes of employees that were created. One was those who were already employed here, and then those who came after the fact, after 2007. So that's why you see two separate classes of employees. And in explaining the proposal to you, bear in mind that of those two classes, in each there is a pre-Medicare group and a post-Medicare group. So in trying to understand the change, but basically I have communicated to you each individually, the purpose and intent, and under B here, this pertains to health insurance benefits for retirees hired before November 1, 2007. And I will ask Bonnie to kind of highlight what the recommendation is for that first. Well, A and B, excuse me, Bonnie, you do it in the order that you join.
Basically, when this policy was adopted, I think Jody may have been on the council then, but basically, when I came here, our policy used to state that you had to work 10 years with the town, and the town would pay for your insurance. The manager at the time, I talked with him, and I said that was a huge liability for the town to only have the employees work 10 years with the town, and then we would pay for their insurance. So at that time, we tied it, so in '07, we tied it to, you had to work, we weren't gonna penalize the employees that were hired under the old policy where you had to work 10 years with the town, but we also added another clause that you had to also retire with unreduced benefits. Unreduced benefits is explained at the end of this, it's 30 years at any age, age 60 with at least 25 years, or age 65 with at least 5 years. So that way, yeah, you have to put in 10 years for the town, for instance. I'll be with the town 10 years this year, but I only have 10 years in the retirement system, so I can't leave this year and the town pay for my insurance. I have to stay until I am with the retirement system for 30 years. So at that time, it was the intent of the council to not really change a benefit per se, but to add another requirement for you to become a qualified retiree. So what we did at that time, we said, okay, all of you who were hired on or before the adoption of this on November the 7th of 2007, you only have to be with the town 10 years, but you also have to retire with full benefits. Anyone hired after that has to be with the town for 25 years and retire with full benefits. So that's the two classes that Peter's referring to. The council did not feel, that they should penalize the employees that were already hired under the previous policy.
And can you just kind of encapsulate the intent of the change being presented.
Basically the change for, what we are trying to do here is if we have an employee that is going to retire under letter B, for instance, we have 2 employees right now who can retire at any time who have both 10 years of service with the town and who are considered to be retired with unreduced benefits. What this has changed now is saying that instead of us saying, okay, once you become eligible for Medicare, we're not going to pay for anything, we're just proposing to pay the monthly fee for the Medicare supplement and prescription supplement, which we currently do, and it costs the town about $175 a month to offer that for the employee.
Yeah, per individual.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Barney about that?
That's for the employee only, it doesn't include a spouse?
Correct. We only do employee only, and, also what we're gonna do is, we have two retirees that are grandfathered before this, that we pay for their supplement, and we pay for dental and, vision. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna pay for the Medicare supplement, we're not gonna pay for dental and vision anymore, so that will save the town some, but that's exactly right.
And that's impacting those 2 employees, or are they grandfathered? Well, okay, that's what I thought, but.
We can't get anything from them that we've already given them, so those 2 are the only 2 that'll get that, and from this point forward, we're just saying that the employees in this class would have their Medicare supplement and their, prescription fee.
This is a trend in the private industry, by the way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and also in the public sector, the school systems, they're doing the same type of thing, many of them. Any other questions? Bonnie? Anything else, Bonnie, you want to add?
No, sir.
Peter?
No, sir, that's the recommendation that staff's making to the council to consider.
Council, I need a motion that we approve the recommended amendment to the retiree health and dental insurance benefits policy.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Recommended amendment to the travel policy, town manager.
Thank you. This is, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, this is the 3rd recommendation that is coming from me tonight to you for a proposed change to an existing policy, this being the travel policy, and once again, zeroing in on credit card usage. And as Councilman Holland brought up and asked me, yes, the credit card usage is being reviewed now as to who's carrying, who actually needs to carry, and the method of that. But this proposes that we change the method of reimbursement for the cost of meals for an employee who's on an approved travel. I'm proposing that we do a cash advance system for meals in lieu of the credit card usage. The credit card can be used in an emergency or if I approve it, but otherwise the employee would actually apply for a cash advance ahead of time for meals, and we would issue that, and he would use that cash advance for meals while on the approved travel. He would still be able to use the credit card for his hotel and fuel if necessary, if he didn't have a fleet card. But the meals, I feel like that it's another due diligence of fiscal control, basically. There's no problem, it's just I'd like to have that as another check on our fiscal control, and that's what's being proposed to you. Be glad to try to answer any questions on this.
One of my first questions, council, was, we have a problem with this. And then a lot of is someone abusing this privilege? And Peter assures me that's not, the town manager, that's not the case. So he's bringing this to us because he just wants to make sure he has a little bit better management control of this issue. Any questions about this?
No, I don't have any. It's pretty straightforward.
I would entertain a motion then that we vote to approve the recommended amendments to travel policy for the town manager. amendment to our travel policy.
So moved.
So here's a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion, any further discussion, I should say? All in favor?
Aye.
So that amendment's been approved. Budget amendment number 10, audio-visual upgrades to the Pitt Center, LPDI grant.
Thank you,
You're welcome. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council. This is our ongoing initiative to upgrade the audio, visual, effects for this building. And as Councilman Sanders had just brought up and discussed at council several times, we have taken that as an initiative and gotten proposals to upgrade the audiovisual of this building. And that would include changing out the way that we video the meetings and creating a system of permanent stationary cameras, 3 for the room, and have the operator in a rear room operating the system himself, just like some of the other towns do, especially Kitty Hawk next door is the one that we've actually looked at and modeled our proposal and research after. There would require some lighting on the ceiling to affect that. It would also require enhanced audio, which would include new, once again, new microphones. There would be a huge improvement over what we have now, and also the system would feed directly into the audiovisual of the system that we would actually install. As you know, the committee, the county committee that has the grant money that we utilize each year, usually awards $20,000 per fiscal year this time of year for a municipality requesting this type funding to pay for this equipment. And what we've done in the past, of course, is applied for 20 one year and skip over into the next year and apply for 20 again and plan our projects around that system. And that's what we've done this year. The challenge this year, however, is the committee's notified us that next fiscal year there will only be $10,000 available rather than 20. But to offset that a little bit, as you can see, we think we've got $3,000 more for this year than the 20. So that would bring the total towards the project of $33,000, 23 this year, 10,000 next year. And the current proposal to do everything we're talking about is $43,000. Have not negotiated that down yet. That's just a bare proposal. It may be a little less than that, but that's what we have right now, and that's what we're working towards to try to go ahead and implement. The sooner we can do it, we feel like the better. Eric, our videographer, who's been great, would actually continue on as the videographer from a remote station, and he will actually man the 2 cameras, one that will be on each side of the room and one in the center, and he'll be more easily able to produce the meeting. But that's the proposal to you in the form of a budget amendment. Since we're $10,000 lacking in paying for the entire project, my recommendation is we go ahead and make up the difference as the budget amendment calls for and get on with the project if we're going to do it, because we've got the contractor waiting for me to sit down and deal with him. He's ready to go. It's just a matter now of seeking the right funding and moving ahead. I'll be glad to try to answer questions if I can. Again, I'm not a technical person, but I think we've met several times in the building, staff, myself, and the contractor, as well as Eric, and we feel like we know what it's going to take now to do this. So, but that's the proposal to you in the form of a budget amendment proposal.
The money would come, undesignated fund balance, I understand what this says.
That's correct. We have, I've searched high and low in the current year's budget, and we're running at the end of the year now, and it's tight for me to come up with that kind of a figure out of our current budget, because as you know, we run it right on the edge to try to keep it lean. So I would propose that the $10,000 come from fund balance to pay for this.
The other question I have, is this fall in the category of a service contract or in the category of a construction or remodel type contract?
Ben may be able to help me. I believe this might be construction and repairs. But as you can tell, it's $43,000.
I'm just curious about
Yeah.
But, well, if it's a construction type contract, then do we have to go out for bids on this, or how's that work?
Let's see.
If you meet the thresholds, you have to take certain steps. But the thresholds are,
Well above
well,
that figure.
the thresholds change about once every 2 years, and I've been doing this long enough that they all meld into my head. I have to look at the actual statute every time to make sure I get the numbers right, but they're likely to be above 33,000 and probably above 40,000. I think they're in the $100,000 range for informal bidding and 500 for formal bidding. So you're probably out of those ranges for needing to do any bidding, but it definitely should be consulted along the way.
Another question is knowing what little I know about this building as we get into it, is there any provisions or do we have a challenge on cost overruns? Or is this a flat bid quote?
This would be, my intent is to treat this as a flat quote. He would be installing and providing the equipment, and we would have a flat quote to do start to finish.
Because sometimes you get in,
Well, I mean,
what
that's,
little I know about this place.
and that is a good point as far as the building. Our Public Works Director also met with the proposer, and there is going to be some wiring that goes above us, some wiring that goes below us, and some wiring that goes behind us, and hopefully Public Works will be able to participate enough in that to take care of that. They will be working with him on the installation part for the wiring, but that's a good question and something we'll be watching out for.
Because sometimes they think there's a bottomless pit.
The most common complaint I get from people who come to our meetings is when you get toward the back room, you can't hear. And no matter, I can put this thing down my throat and you probably can barely hear me.
And they all sit in the back row.
Everybody sits in the back row, right?
Well, that's
It's
church.
It's like elementary school or
Exactly.
church. The system that Duck uses is similar to what we're talking about doing, and they have the clip-on mics that work, are really effective. You can hear everything very clearly. I'm a strong advocate for this, as you may have guessed, because I've sat in the back row. Anyway, Council, any further questions or any more discussion?
I have just one comment to make, and I'll move it into the motion. That is, we're doing all of this to improve the building, and basically this is the $10,000 we're paying. The rest is grant money.
Yes.
And I think it's just terrific that we can do it for $10,000 from our point of view. And with that in mind, I'd move that we approve budget amendment number 10 as presented by the town manager.
I second it.
Any discussion? Any further discussion, I should say? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Peter, it's your turn again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My report tonight, I just, first thing I wanted to report to the council, early voting will be here in the Pitt Center this year. It'll be again April 24th and run through May 2nd. So we will have the Dare County Board of Elections set up daily here in the building. Be very interesting to watch the process. I was happy to work that out with Ms. Garrison, and we're basically proud to have it here this year. So I'm excited about that. I did want to remind council that we have set up a citizen information meeting for any citizens interested in natural gas for their residence or building in the town of Southern Shores. That's going to be Thursday, May the 8th at 5:30 p.m. here in the building. We've been putting that out to all our various forms of media so that anybody who's interested can come and learn from Piedmont officials themselves what it will take to receive natural gas. And I'll go ahead and state that I think everybody does know this, but there is an economic factor that's considered by Piedmont in extending their services to residences here. We have the location of lines already on Dogwood Trail up to the Country Club, from US 158 to Duckwoods Country Club, and then along 158. What causes Piedmont to make a decision to extend distribution lines is an attractive economic force. In other words, there have to be enough houses along a street who are interested in converting to natural gas before they will run a line down that street. It's very simply how it works. So anyway, they will be here on May the 8th at 5:30, and we'll continue to advertise that. Just to announce to Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the Finance Committee will meet tomorrow and go over some, with the town manager and the finance officer and some of the department heads, the preliminaries for the manager's budget that I'll be giving you once again in draft form at the budget workshop, which we have set for the 15th of April, I believe. Yes, April 15th will be the budget workshop meeting for the council. And there again, after that, the first meeting in May will be when I project to present to you the formal presentation of the budget for the next fiscal year, and that would be May the 6th. So I just want to run through those dates real quick as well. I did want to report to you, update you from last meeting. Fiscal year 13-14 road projects have all now been awarded contracts, and the last one is Ocean View Loop behind us, and RPC contracting has been awarded the contract for that improvement. So everything's on schedule to be completed by the end of the fiscal year, and Public Works is doing a great job in administering those contracts and improvements to the streets, and also doing basic repair work as necessary as well. I also report to you that the Lifeguard Service for this year is scheduled to begin the middle of May with roving guards on the beach. There will be 2 hard stands set by May 23rd for 2 lifeguards to be set on the stands, and then a total of 4 stands will be set by the end of school, which is June the 14th. So after June 14th, we will be having their normal complement of 4 lifeguards on the 4 hard stands with roving ATVs on the beach. And as well, the police department is looking for a community resource officer to fill that slot for the summer, the seasonal position as well. So we're excited about the upcoming beach season. I did, as a final note, I wanted to give you some statistics on our broadcast newsletter that's sent out by email and also on the town website. Currently, the town email that goes out twice a month has 1,659 subscribers. And we're now up to 60% participation, and by participation I mean 60% of those subscribers open the email and do whatever, read it, look at it, or whatever. So that's as high as we've ever been, 60%. The town website for March reports we had 2,137 visits, an average duration of 3 minutes per visit. Of that, 61.8% were new visitors and 38.2% were returning visitors. And just to remind council that we have and the audience, that we have a Facebook page and a Twitter account, which are used to report any kind of ongoing daily, hourly, town related news of interest. So that's my report, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions on that or any other topic I can for the evening.
Thank you, Peter. You have questions for Peter?
This has been an ongoing one. What is our status at Deer Path there? Is that going to, we do fixes, and is that going to eventually, I think eventually it's going to be resurfaced, but I want
Yes.
to be sure of that.
It did send the current plan, not plan, but commitment of the contractor is to initiate the corrections I'll use that term, corrections, by May 30th of this year. And then there'll be another waiting period, and the repaving of the north-south segment, the entire street, the repaving of the street will be done by September 30th. So that's the, that's what has been committed by the contractor.
I have a question, Peter. On the email newsletter that you send out, the 1659, is there any way to differentiate local from the out-of-town responses to that, or the website visits as well?
On the broadcast news, Sheila and I, the clerk and I have looked at that, and it's, the only way we can tell is if there's some indication in the email address that they post, and it's hard to tell.
Okay.
Am I correct in that?
And I assume then the visits to the website will be the same.
There
such a-
might be a way, I haven't looked at that.
We'll take a look and see. I will comment to you on the Facebook likes, if you will. Majority of those are, well, I won't say a majority, but there's a good number. I venture to say half of those are out-of-town visitors who are interested in Southern Shores, just ongoing happenings
When I
here.
was with the SSCA, I noticed that about 60% of the responses that we had and the inquiries we had came from out of town. And 40% were locals.
Yes. That sounds about right for the Facebook page as well.
I would also say on Facebook, one of the reasons people would look at it are the great pictures you put on Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, the pictures of the deers and the sunsets and sunrises, it's got to make them want to be here.
That's the intent.
And you do some really great ones. Thank you for that.
Any other questions? I have 3 or 4 things. I'll try to limit it. Peter, our town manager, Peter Rasco, and Councilman Powell and myself attended a ribbon cutting at Southern Bank yesterday evening at about 5 o'clock in the marketplace. And I was glad to see somebody move into that space. It's nice to see the marketplace starting to hold its own again a little bit. A nice reception, a really warm reception to us. Warren Judge was there, and of course Leo and I and Peter, and we felt very welcome, and very welcome there, and like they really wanted to make a contribution to our town. It's just nice to have another bank. I guess we need 1 or 2 more banks, but anyway, good. It was a good session, and enjoyed being there. Very grateful to them for inviting us. I heard a rumor today that we may lose our cleaners that's in the marketplace, though, because of the rent situation. Don't know whether it's true or not. Source I heard from is a pretty dependable source, though, and that seems that they've already arranged to move somewhere else. I don't know that, but just making you aware of it. I've had a couple of questions about the dredge barges. I talked to Peter about it beforehand. I thought my guess was right about what was going on with the barges still being in the canal system. The contractor's going to, I think he's what they call swim those or propel them back up to his home base in Virginia Beach. He's probably just waiting for a few days of really nice calm weather to get the water levels up a little bit before he heads out with them, because there's some shallow spots they have to go over to get there. Those barges draw a lot of water. But they should be out of our canal as soon as we get a few days of continuous southerly breeze where he has deep water, we can move it. There's some people apparently in our committee who are troubled by them. I just want them to know he's not going to leave them here for the summer. I can guarantee that. I think I can anyway. I met last week, a week before, with the CPOA membership, and 3 questions came up at that meeting, and they all had to do with Highway 12. The first was a question about stormwater management, what we're doing about that. The second was a question about the crossover lighting, a flashing light or something to warn people about crossovers. And the third was speed limit considerations, summertime speed limits. Do we want to change them or consider changing them? I asked our town manager to arrange a meeting for us with the DOT people, which we have done, and we're going to meet with them on the 14th, I believe, and discuss some of these issues and see if there's anything to help us out or advise us as to what we can or cannot do one more time. So that's something to look forward to. The last thing, I want to tell you that Southern Shores has been a town as of this month for 35 years. So it's a birthday time for us. We had a happy birthday. Either in March, depending on what document you read, it's either March or April, but we're all the same week. Anyway, happy anniversary to Southern Shores. That's my part. I think you're up next, Joe.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
One question, about the PVC markers in the canals, will those be removed?
Yes.
Okay.
They took them out of our canal.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
I didn't look back.
Last week.
I
I
think-
could have sworn they were there this weekend.
No, sir.
Yeah, I think ours are gone out
Ours are gone.
on the
Okay,
Spindrift
good.
end.
I think they're almost all, I didn't see any in Holly Trail at all, so I'm pretty sure most of them are
Yeah,
gone.
ours are gone.
Larry?
I have nothing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I've been hearing this complaint, I know it's been an ongoing issue, and I kinda hate to even bring it up, but since I've got a few people fussing at me, is people still are continuing not to pick up after their dogs. And I don't know if it's something a reminder we can put in, a broadcast, to remind them to do that. And of course, this time of year, it's not guests that are the issue, it's our local residents, and I've had my ear bent about 3 times in the last week about it. So if we can do something like that as a reminder, I know we can't. It's an ongoing issue, and in my opinion is the owners need to take responsibility. That's all I got.
I have one quick dog story I want to tell before you go. A quick dog story.
And by the way, this issue's not dogs on the beach. This is not
Dog
picking
everywhere.
up in town.
Dogs everywhere.
Yes.
About 3 weeks ago, maybe a little longer, Sheila knows I've been looking for a dog for a while, and she called to tell me about a dog at the SPCA building in Manio by the name of Harley. And she'd seen him in the I think it was the St. Patrick's Day parade. They were actually advertising him as a great pet. She called me and told me I should go get Harley. Just simple as that. Don't even bother. Don't waste time to even get a dog dish. Well, I didn't do it, and I kind of kicked myself but that was right in the middle of Jane's knee operation recovery, and I couldn't leave her and go pick up a new doggie, especially a young doggie. So today I was called to come down to the marina to help somebody do some work with a workboat, and as I pulled in the parking lot at the La Valley Marina, this black lab ran over to my car and put his head on my knee and wanted to be petted as I opened the door. He was almost in the car with me. So I asked Keith Bernstein, who was there, whose dog it was. Oh, it's mine. I said, well, he's a wonderful animal. He's friendly as he can be. He's smart. He didn't try to get in the car, but he almost did. And Keith wanted to get in his car. He ran and jumped in the car, no questions. And I said, what's his name? He said, Harley. And I thought, what a wonderful thing to have happen to Keith and that dog. He's a good person to take it. But I was happy and sad at the same time. That's my dog story. Any other business?
Done from staff.
Ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Appreciate all of you coming out. I don't know why we're all slept. You must have gotten bored early on, but